Hey, everybody, welcome to Bound to Truth. This is Chris Lopez. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday, getting closer to that summertime for us motorcycle riders. Even the best time to get out there, do some camping, exploring, hopefully not too much stupid stuff, but anywho, really want to thank everybody for being here. And just also, since I started the show back in January, a lot of great reception from a lot of people, a lot of great reach outs and respect when I posted some things out there on Facebook. So I want to thank everybody for you on that, and just be part of this experience and this journey. Like I said, the platform is yours. It's for everybody. So want to share again how you can reach me if you have any questions, concerns, comments, insults, or just want to say I love your voice. Bound to truth 34 at gmail.com. Obviously, we are on Spotify, Bound to Truth. Please hit the subscribe button, get that word out there, get everybody out there, listen, and let's definitely connect more on a community level. And then also on X, Bound to Truth, and on YouTube, Bound to Truth. So today, everybody, I got a special guest, another very lot more closer local named John. I met with him face to face not too long ago, and he's got a lot to say regarding his experience with abduction and other things that are really paranormal. And I'm going to really let him spill his beans and share what he wants to share, and definitely get that out there. So, John, hey, buddy, how you doing?
Wonderful.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, dude,
Absolutely
this one's
wonderful.
awesome. Awesome. Hey, thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate our conversation, like I told you before, when we met, and then also our motorcycle ride to Port Townsend. That was interesting. And I mean it good interesting, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh
There's
yeah.
some interesting vibes out there, man. Uh,
especially
yeah.
especially that one guy that pulled up to us towards the end there. That was a different.
Yeah, that was trippy, man. We're two for two. First the lady at the Grub Hut just kind of
I'm,
get
I'm starting to think it follows me. Weird just might be my MO for life.
Hey, that's okay, man. That's okay. I've ever since I met you, I've been putting more holy water crosses, salts on the doors,
I'm
everything.
telling you, Sage works wonders.
Well, hey, man. So you have a lot of experiences. I know you're going to be talking about multiple experiences with your abduction. But before we begin, man, this is your platform. Tell people who you are, what you're about, your background, man. Go for it. Go ahead and do it.
Alrighty. Well, as you said before, my name's John. I have been a local Washingtonian most of my life. I've lived here as well as Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, and unfortunately Florida for a little while. We won't talk about that. Um, but my experience with all of these different states, I always end up back here in Washington. And I'll tell you, after living in these different areas, Washington is weird, man. It's just you will experience things here and on that kind of like Idaho, upper Idaho area and towards Canada that you just won't get anywhere else. Not only just the beauty of this area, but the feelings, the interactions, the locals, the paranormal, the super, the alien activity, if you want to call it that. So
Mhm.
my personal experience goes all the way back to being a child. I'm going to try to do this without rambling because, again, I don't really, it's still, even to this day, hard for me to wrap my head around it. Sometimes I just ramble on about it because it's like, well, I talk about it. I'm reprocessing everything. So when I was a child, my parents used to chalk this up just to sleepwalking. And I had a bad sleepwalking, and we'll just assume that you can see me putting that in quotes, but habit. I would wake up in the weirdest of situations, not just in my house, but what really got me was waking up at neighbors' homes or really far down the road. And let me explain something to you. Every time this happened, we had a locked front door, a locked back door, and locked from the inside, not the outside. I was too young to ever have to even know how to use a house key, honestly. And as well as a 7 foot high fence that surrounded our entire backyard. So, I mean, I've seen some sleepwalkers. I've known some, but I've never known somebody to sleepwalk through a locked building or over a 7 foot tall fence without leaving a trace and then appearing somewhere else. Well, my family chalked that up to sleepwalking. So I accepted that. As I got older, the experiences got more personal and less of them telling me what happened. And one of the first experiences that I remember that really made an impact on me was one of the ones that I shared with you was where I ended up going to sleep in one area and waking up a couple 100 miles away in a completely different area. And I don't know if we're really like sharing the area, if you want me to do that.
No, you can definitely do that, man. I'm like I said, this is all about how much comfort
Okay.
you want to share. So go ahead and do your thing.
Okay. I didn't know if we were doing. Okay. So at the time I lived in Bremerton, Washington. Anybody who's from the Washington area, unfortunately, knows what a Bremerton is. Um, where I went to sleep there, and within a few hours, I woke up in Cedar Woolley, basically completely naked with no shoes on my feet. Um, I woke up to an officer talking to me, and I have absolutely no recollection of the time from, or any recollection of waking up in the middle of this process. My girlfriend at the time, she explains to me the same situation was we went to bed. Next thing she knows, she's getting a phone call from an officer saying that they found me in a field in Cedar Woolley. And I showed you where the field was. And anybody who knows the Washington area, you know that to get from Bremerton, Washington to Cedar Woolley, you're not doing it on foot, not in a couple hours. It is not physically possible. It is not something that can happen. Now,
Absolutely, and you know what? And before you continue on, just to back you up on that, I've done a ride to Cedar Willie. I told you about that, and I live
yeah,
here in Kitsap. You have to take a ferry over. It's about a good four hour trip, and that's making good time. I
yeah,
would say, and by the way, that's taking a ferry, right?
yeah.
So before you continue on, talk. I think did you mention how old you were when that happened? Also, what was the time frame?
Oh gosh. So how old I was probably 18, 19, maybe a little bit. But she was a girlfriend, but she's my wife now. She remembers that stuff. Like I said before, this whole period of time still kind of seems like a blur to me. Even the whole 18-year-old to almost 20-year-old period, because that's when I experienced a lot of this activity. And I don't have a lot of recollection, but other people do. Like she remembers things better than I do, and she remembers things that happened that I have just no recollection of whatsoever. And I've been tested out. I've gone to doctors and everything too, and made sure that I didn't have any memory problems or anything going on or anything medical history that I didn't know about, and clean bill of health. But so the timeline was about probably about weirdly enough, and if for drive time, like you said, it takes about 4 hours to get there. So it was about a 3.5, 4 hour time frame, probably, that I disappeared, but my car was accounted for. My clothes and shoes and everything were all still in the home. My motorcycle was accounted for. And I woke up in this person's field who they are the ones that call 911. And weirdly enough, I've actually talked to the person since then multiple times who we ended up becoming friends. They're another motorcycle rider. It's strange how that happens. Um, who remembers the 911 very, very well of basically seeing me wandering in their field with nothing but boxers on, looking like a dazed and confused animal. Um, so within somehow there was a 4 hour period of me going to bed and me waking up in this field.
Now,
Um,
when you say 4 hour difference, was this during the daytime? Was
this
this
was this was nighttime, so it was probably around 3 to 4 ish a.m. If I wish my wife was here. She remembers all this stuff when she got that phone call.
right? And
Saying,
and there's no ferries running at that time.
no, no, no. The
So
only
it's
possible way to get
impossible.
there.
It's
Yeah.
impossible to get there unless
No,
unless
it's
unless you're
impossible
yeah.
without a ferry. If you drive around, it's like 6 hours. I mean, I can go up and over a different direction here and still make good time. It still take 4.5 hours without taking a ferry, but it's a long ways. You're not doing it, and there's no way somebody's doing it without clothing on.
Oh, of
You're
course.
not you're
Absolutely.
not walking on the side of a highway, and well, okay, you wouldn't even be able to walk. It's just it's impossible. It's I've tried to reason it so many times to myself and to everybody else and whatnot because I even when I say it out loud now, like I told you, it still makes me feel crazy and it sounds crazy to me, even though I've experienced it and experienced things afterwards, as well as the rest of my family have experiences as well. But this is one of the first ones that really made an impact on me where the only logical explanation was an abduction. And it sounds just like the movies. You know, somebody woke up in a field naked and afraid, basically. And I ended up being that person.
Well,
And so,
it's like that movie. Was it Fire in the Sky? Oh my God, I
oh
stuck my
gosh, that's
head.
a good
Yeah,
movie. Yeah.
great movie, right? And
Yeah.
one of the most. I feel like just from our conversation, your story is right up there, without the witnesses, of course,
Mhm.
except you're in bed, and your wife's showing you're missing, and you got a guy who's like, dude, there's some butt naked dude in the back of the field, and with no possible way of traveling unless you're taking a ferry, uh,
Mhm.
and all that. And also, you said you when you met with the officer who when they came out there, you are you still pretty friends with them, or what was their kind of response to that? Like what was their kind of reaction to like,
His
dude?
response his response was, "What drugs did you take?" That was one of the first things that I remember him saying to me when I was explaining to him that I didn't live here. I live in Bremerton, Washington. And he's like, okay, what drugs did you take? I'm like, I didn't take nothing. I'm sober as a bird. You can do a field sobriety. You can do blood tests, hair tests, all of it. There was
Yeah.
nothing had me
So
inebriated. And when we were talking to it, when he actually called my wife and she explained to him that we lived in Bremerton, Washington, and 3.5, 4 hours ago, we went to bed and my car was in the driveway, my motorcycle was in the garage, and she had no idea. He was baffled like I was, and he tried to reason it too, but he tried to reason it in a more logical way of, well, somebody you had to have went out to for a party, or you had to have gotten drugged or things like that. I'm like, yeah, I went to bed and someone came in and drugged me, and then drugged me out to Cedar Woolley and dropped me off. That makes sense.
right,
Without
yeah,
my wife,
and you know what? So when that officer is trying to reason with what happened, was his reasoning more of an expression of complete doubt and just no, this
absolutely,
yeah, okay.
absolutely.
Okay, he
It
wasn't
was
freaked out or confused.
he wasn't really freaked out or confused. He was just he did not believe it at all. I didn't believe it. No one could believe it. I didn't really talk about it afterwards. I mean, I who the heck do you tell that to? I'm the only person I was really able to share the experience with was my wife, and that's because she kind of lived it too, and it was traumatic for her as
Yeah.
well.
Well, yeah,
And
it's not like you're going to a therapist and talking about the normal things that we all experience here with relationships and work and all that stuff. You're talking about like I let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like you're hoping that maybe that I'm just crazy and this is not real, or like or what's kind of like, I know you said you're still wrapping your head around, but what's kind of your thing with that
there
mindset?
there are times, especially, and we'll get into this when I tell a couple other stories that happen,
Okay,
even in the house that we live now.
sure.
There are times that I want to be crazy. There are times where I want to call somebody and them to do a psych eval on me and them to tell me that my mind is going or that I'm crazy or I'm a socio or like I have split personality disorder, anything to make reason of it. Like logic, because I'm a man of science as well as a man of religion. And the science part of my brain tells me that it's not possible and tells me that there has to be something wrong with me. The unlogical, as I call it, part of my brain, the more, and I hate to use this word because this word is, I just don't like it. The more woke part of my brain tells me that it's absolutely possible. that there is no logical reason to it, but it's possible because nobody can prove to me that it's not possible. And people can have been trying to for centuries tell me that there is life on other planets, that there's extraterrestrials, that there are ghosts, that there is this and that. And I've had my own personal experiences that have woken me up to that. And it's still, when you experience those things, and I don't know if anybody else out there has ever had this feeling, and if they do, then just know that you're absolutely not alone, where you know in your heart of hearts what happened, but you cannot reason it to yourself at all. I can say, especially from other experiences, and there's another one where I woke up in a strange situation, which I'll tell about here, but I can say without a doubt the only logical explanation for what happened to me was that I was abducted. And it sounds weird coming out of my mouth. And again, it's one of those things where even as I say it out loud, my brain's like, why did you say that? You sound crazy. This is dumb. You're crazy. But the logical part of my mind tells me it's the only way that this works. It's not physically possible to go to sleep, walk the distance of, gosh, I'll just,
Yeah, go for
um,
it.
let me
Well,
just look up the
what
81.5 miles.
mhm.
Even though when I look in here and I throw in the general area of where it was, it would take me 32 hours to walk there, 8 hours by bike, and apparently 5 hours and 47 minutes by train, which there's no train that goes that way, but that's interesting to know.
Yeah, but you're trying to leave room to have no
For
gap
anything,
for
for anything.
you're
And
yourself
I
trying
can
to.
promise you, none of my friends picked me up, drugged me, and drove me out there in the middle of the night without waking my wife up.
The only thing I can definitely say if that was possible is, the other thought is government. You
Oh
know,
gosh.
I hope not. I mean, actually,
Yeah, I'd rather it be aliens than it be government.
I was gonna say, would you rather be an alien or a government? Yeah, I hope not. And you know what? That kind of before you share your other experiences, let me ask you this: after that incident, has anybody reached out to you, like an official of some sorts, government wise, officers following up, like anything that was kind of weird after the fact of this experience that you had?
The only person that followed up on it was the officer that was responded to me being in the field. And the only reason he responded is he wanted an explanation. It was several days later, he got a hold of me. He called. I mean, he had my information. I gave it to him willingly because, but he wanted to know after I had had some clarity and some peace of mind if there was anything else that I had missed, like if I could tell him how I got there. And again, I reiterated the story of it's the way it was that I told you. I have no idea. And we got to talking after that, and he brought up extraterrestrial to me. And that was when I kind of was in my mind like, no, 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 it's not me. I'm not that guy. This didn't happen. I, it was a bird, something even more crazy and outlandish than getting abducted by aliens. I tried to justify like, oh, yeah, a seagull came and picked me up and carried me out there. That has to be the logical explanation. But we
Oh,
talked about it for a little while afterwards, and he said that it is not the first time that he's heard of it happening and people being dropped off in that general area and with this kind of
wow.
situation. But it took him having to tell the story to the rest of his department to get that out of people, where somebody, after he explained, like, you'll never guess what I dealt with last night, that
Right.
somebody, this person he left unnamed, and he left the situation unnamed. He didn't give me any details. He said another officer came and pulled him aside and said, hey, about, I can't remember, was it? He said 2 or 3 years ago, I responded to a call that was almost identical to this, where someone was living hundreds of miles away that was dropped off in this exact, like, general, not, I can't say for sure the exact area that I was dropped off, but I would say probably within a 30 to 40 mile radius of where I was.
Wow. Wow. I mean, so even after that first interaction with the officer, he followed up a few days later, having more questions because of his engagement with other officers with the similar experiences of other people, just like yours. And
Uh-huh.
did his tone change? Did he still sound? I mean, anything you can kind of get a feeling from him when he followed up? Any changes compared to that first interaction with the officer?
I would say he sounded less, and the word I would use would be accusatorial, like you did drugs, you did this, this is your fault. I'm out here at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's because of you. And so you're just some junkie that's out in the field. And it was less of that and more like, I'm sorry this happened to you. Can you reason it? Like more of, I wouldn't say caring, but more of wanting to understand it. And then he expressed his conversation that he had with another officer. And then I realized that what he was doing was he was trying to do the same thing that I was doing, is he was trying to find any logic in the situation and justify it to himself, because there's no way that you can't. If I was in his shoes, I would probably be doing the same exact things. Of how it would be a how did this happen for the rest of my life until I figured it out. Because the as human beings, we don't really like unresolved conflict or mysteries in our mind.
Right.
Imagine reading a mystery novel and them not telling you the end of it.
Right.
You're stuck there wondering what happened for the rest of your life. And I can imagine that he's probably feeling the same way, because that's how I'm feeling until I have a power of the beast come down and tells me to my and will tell me to my face, "Yep, this is what happened to you." I will be wondering that for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I cannot imagine having that experience and not knowing what's going on. I mean, heck, they didn't even leave your clothes, which really sucks. They probably like, yeah, we can't put this, I can't figure this thing on. Just screw it. We're just gonna leave them butt naked out in the woods. Uh,
Yeah, we're gonna drop them off here, but we're gonna leave them close to a house though.
yeah, at least somewhere where like, hey, hello, make them
Yeah,
look a little crazy. Um, Yeah, I can't even imagine. Now, was there any, would you say, marks or anything in your body, anything that you kind of discovered, or just was that just kind of that was it on that end on that?
not me personally. At least nothing that I have really ever found. I haven't really stripped down naked and had somebody look me over with them, or touch every inch of my body to make sure that there's nothing anywhere in my scalp or clothes or ass cheek or anything like that.
Right.
So personally, me, not nothing that I found.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah. Go for it.
I do know somebody that does have those experiences, and we talked about that. And I don't know how in depth you want me to go on her side of her story with that, but before I,
You can definitely yeah you can definitely do that. But go ahead, go for it, whatever you
okay,
want.
so my wife and me, we have a very interesting story. Um, we're born 3 days apart. Actually, my birthday's tomorrow, weirdly enough. Um,
Happy birthday.
and yeah, thank you. We were born in the same hospital, 3 days apart, and our mothers became friends while they were in the hospital. We have always lived our lives a couple 100 miles away from each other at a time, if even that. I grew up in this Washington area, and she grew up in the Kingston area.
Mhm.
She moved to Montana. I moved to Idaho. We were probably about 2.5 hours away from each other our entire lives growing up.
Wow.
We became best friends at a young age, and then we went different ways. I went through some traumas that I dealt with in only the way men deal with, and that's going and doing stupid things, getting motorcycles and drugs. And
Right.
she
Absolutely.
dealt with traumas by um, going off and doing her own thing and trying to isolate herself. And she ended up getting married, but we still stayed friends the whole time.
Right.
So, and this will all kind of wrap into itself.
Yeah.
An experience that her and her family have had her whole life is dealing with extraterrestrials, going back from the times when she was a child, speaking to a man in a hat that came and appeared. And this is not her story. This happened to her when she was a child. This happened to her mother when she was a child. This happened to her grandmother. This happened to all of her aunts. Have all had this a conversation with a man that they described to the T, very similar, as coming down and telling them basically how their life is going to go, and saying that we'll be checking in on you periodically throughout your life.
Wow.
So she has that she's dealt with. I
Mhm.
have these abductions that I've dealt with. Do I feel that I'm something important to whatever extraterrestrial being is out there that is actually messing with me? I don't know. Do I feel that I may or may not be a part of a breeding project over some form of star children that they're dealing with? Perhaps.
Hmm.
Um, Another reason why is because all of these people that her mother, her aunts, and etc., the females in her families have all had relationships with males. All of these people have had some form of divine intervention that has kept them from dying while they were in relationships with them. And I'm talking like things that you don't survive from
Right.
people almost being crushed by fire trucks to extreme motorcycle accidents where this is mine personally, where not only the person hitting, but the people that were behind, the people that witnessed it, as well as myself, have no recollection of the moment of impact. They cannot remember me being hit. They only remember seeing that the accident was going to happen. Then all of a sudden, people responding to the accident. So there was a moment in between there, which I would say a few moments where of impact where nobody in that area can remember me actually being struck by the car, where I came out of this completely unscathed, where this was the type of accident that you don't walk away from on a motorcycle. You don't get hit at 60 miles per hour while you're doing 50 miles per hour in an intersection broadsided and walk away from that. That doesn't happen.
Right.
But it did for me. Um, so it's one of those things where I call it divine intervention because, and I use this word, and the reason I'll explain that is because I do believe that these beings are some form of divinity and divine in their own sense. Anything that can interject themselves in the lives of natural civilization without being seen for the greater good is some form of divine creature to me.
Hmm.
Whether or not their intentions are good, I cannot say for myself, but I feel that some of them are and some of them are not. Anyways, I'm rambling.
No, you're good. Go for it.
So after these experiences that these people have had, including my wife, where these visitors coming and talking to them throughout their lives, we have experienced things with her children. My children, and you had the pleasure of meeting a few of them. You met my two daughters, the twins.
Beautiful blue
Those,
eyes, man. They are
yeah,
very inquisitive kids.
yeah. These two girls, from a very young age, from when they were speaking, and also their brother, they like to talk about the people that come and visit them while they're sleeping and come and talk to them, and they come and check up on them. As a matter of fact, my one of my daughters, she will. I'm actually just not going to use their names. So I'm just going to say
Oh, that's
A and
okay.
B because
Right.
they're twins.
Yep.
A, she will come and she'll tell us they're going to come tonight. They're coming to check on it, and she will say it random. And let me tell you, it is weird every time. It gives me this. I don't know if it's an uncomfortable or more like it's not even like a predatorial feeling. It's more like a feeling of helplessness because it's like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. She'll come up
Okay.
to us and be like, hey, Daddy, they're going to come and see us tonight. I'm like, who's going to come and see us? She's like, oh, the men that come and check on us every now and then. I'm like, what? And I always ask her, well, what do they do? Well, they come and they talk to us, they tell us things, and then they leave.
Hmm.
Well, from a young age, they've experienced that, and I don't expose them to this stuff. I don't tell them about my history. I don't tell them. They're too young to understand those things, anyways. And
Right.
those are things that I don't want to put. I don't ever want to taint someone's view of the world by putting my ideas in their brain. I want them to have their own ideas of the world, and they do. They have gained their own opinions. Now they're young, but they are smart enough to know what's going on in the world. My oldest son has had the same experiences where he will tell us that there was people that came and visited him. My younger son, that's not too much younger than him, will tell us the same exact things, that there are beings that come and they talk to us and they tell, and sometimes they check on us and they help them with their problems. They says, which I'm assuming it might be medical.
Right.
Um, so these are all things that our kids tell us,
Right.
and this has been happening since they can talk. I have no explanation for it. But
Hmm.
what I do have is I do have experiences of where everybody in our house will experience the same dream at the same time. Now, do I believe it's a dream? No. Do I believe that our brains were altered to make it think it was a dream? Yes,
Rock on.
absolutely. Because you can't tell me that I will dream the exact same situation that happened and the same things that happen. My wife will dream it. My children who did not hear me and my wife talking about it will come in and tell us the same exact thing, and that they said that, like, hey, I had this dream, and in this dream this happened, and that is not a coincidence. There is no, unless we are all on the exact frequency of mindset,
Right.
which is just not possible because everybody's different. You can't you're not going to dream the same dream as somebody else to the T.
Wow.
I explained to you this dream that, well, it feels like a dream, but what happened is my wife woke me up in the middle of the night saying that there was somebody in the house. Her story, and honestly, I can tell you the story. I'm not going to say her story. I'll say the story because it's
Yeah.
identical.
No, absolutely. Go for it.
I'll tell it from my point of view, though.
Okay.
I sprung out of bed. She went to check on the kids. She screamed, saying that there was somebody in the house. I got out of bed. I ran to the stairs. By the time I got over there, she turned around and saw the thing in my oldest son's room, which is literally across from our doorways shared a doorway, almost like a hallway
Right.
from his room, and the door slammed shut.
Wow.
That's the dream that we had. And I went in there, I opened up the door, and there was nothing there. She describes what she saw as a translucent, almost light like being. And weirdly enough, it was funny. I was playing what was it? I was playing the game Destiny the other day, and
Right.
they have these translucent beings that are in there, and it makes me think of them every time I think of the word. It's the best way to describe the translucent glow that comes from them is almost like a radiant something. Anyways, that is
did she describe height wise, looks wise, or was it kind of just a shape?
said that it was more of a shape, and she said that it was like she really was focusing on the feet, the legs there too, because it was more of one of those where she chooses to identify her targets is from ground up to assess a problem. It's a mental thing. Weirdly enough, women do that when they are assessing threats. They will look from the ground up to their threat. Most men look from up to down,
That's
which
true.
is weird. It's like it's just some form of defense mechanism that we have in our brains is how it works. But so that's what she saw was a translucent legs, and I had the same dream. I don't remember seeing these beings in the dream on the stairwell, but I do remember seeing the like silhouette of the glow in the doorway as the door closed.
Wow.
My son will describe the whose room that these beings were actually went in and closed the door, describes it as seeing a light in the hallway, hearing his mom yell for me run out, and then his door shut while the light was getting brighter.
Wow.
So
Jesus.
his part of the dream is only seeing light. During, or oh gosh, well, now you know one of my kids' names, but it's everybody knows me here. They'll probably figure it out by me saying my name is John and I have a bunch of motorcycles. um,
Yeah.
my other son describes the dream as his door was kind of practiced. He saw his glow in the hallway. He saw his mom run down. He saw me run to the end of the thing. Heard a door slam, and me run back over and check the door. And the girls, they don't have any real like recollection of anything ever happening, including and they are the lightest sleepers that you could ever imagine. I have to sneak out of my own house, and I've thought about starting to use a ladder outside my window because I go to work early in the morning just to not wake them up. Excuse me, I have the hiccups.
Okay.
I do believe that these beings come and they check on our children. I believe that particular night they were there to check on our daughters because they were over on that side of the room. And they are the only ones that aren't sharing this. Now, this wasn't one of those situations where we had this panic and then we like assessed it, all freaked out for a bit, then went back to sleep.
Right.
I woke up and leaned over and told my wife, I had the weirdest dream last night. She goes, "Man, me too." Me and her discussed our dreams. And then Lucian came into our room later when he woke up and he told us the same thing. He said, "I had a weird dream last night."
Wow.
And I was like, "What was your dream about?" And he describes his version of that dream. And that is when I knew that this wasn't a dream that happened, that this had to have absolutely happened because the same thing happened from different points of view. And you can't do that with a dream. You can't alter it to like have the same dream and each person have their own POV of the dream and it all be the same. That's weird. That doesn't make sense. The only logical explanation for that is that it happened, but our minds were reset in a way to where we woke up and we thought it was a dream.
That 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 is that is I'm gonna say the word bananas, and when I'm not saying
Oh
that,
yeah.
you say you're crazy. That's just it's
Oh
just
no, I completely
remarkable.
understand.
Yeah. it's remarkable. But I've heard these. I've not. You're the first one I've heard about the families, and I've heard about you know people's stories with abductions and being a genealogical thing, right?
Yeah.
But to share the same quote dream, well, let's just say what it is. Y'all had this. You guys were all aware of the experience, and it was made to basically, hey, go back to sleep, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so with that experience being with happen and with going kids, so feel free if you want to be comfortable sharing this point or not. Has there been any like potential or curious evidence of proof of them of these beings checking them out?
So yes, yes. And I've shared these with you.
Yep.
And after I talk with my partner and I really discuss on whether or not we're comfortable with sharing this publicly,
You don't have to
because
go.
there's
Yeah.
maybe if she is comfortable with it, we might be able to share this to where we will give you the exclusive release of the footage that we have.
Okay.
You can share it with your viewers and followers.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
haven't
I
exactly
want.
spoken with her that.
Yeah. I definitely want to be
Uh,
respectful, man. Absolutely.
yeah,
Like I
no,
said.
I do too, because this isn't just my life. This is that this affects. And even when I talked to my wife, I asked if she was comfortable and she wanted to do that. She does not. She said I can talk about it. She doesn't want to be a part of it because there's traumas that she's dealt with where her mind is still trying to wrap around it. She doesn't feel threatened by these things because it's been happening her whole life. And she feels that they're here to monitor their star children that they have, their experiment that they've been working on for God knows how many generations or centuries of their perfect hybrid beings is what that's the only way or experiment that I could think of. And our children just happen to maybe be that. Or maybe they're the next step in that perfect hybrid being. But I don't know. All we know is there's a lot of focus on our children. There has been a lot of focus on fertility from my side and her side. She wasn't even supposed to ever have children. She had one miracle baby, and they said that she would never have children again. And she has a lot. We have a
Yeah.
lot of children.
You guys definitely do, man. You're definitely not going to be a dying breed anytime soon.
No,
Um,
no.
but
Um,
I will if it's okay to share this. I know when we first met, you showed me a couple things that were mind blowing. I kept that private, by the way.
yeah,
I,
I greatly appreciate that. Until
yeah, and I'll tell you
she
this,
gives
everybody
the
out there,
okay. Yeah,
yeah, everybody out there listening, let me tell you this. Just wow, and I'm sure John can echo this. I almost had tears in my eyes, not because I was scared or joyous. It was a whole different reality of experience of what was shown.
for
And
me,
I had to go home and really wrap my brain around it myself. And
yeah,
like we're talking, listening it and hearing it. I've seen potential videos online of certain things, but to have a firsthand what you shared, it changed me in certain ways. And want to at least share that.
having having that evidence, and it makes me feel emotional right now. Like I have goosebumps and I have tears in my eyes a little bit because it's like what you said, having the videos that I have, which gives proof that something is happening or has happened, makes me feel a sense of relief because it's like I know I have the proof and I have the ability to prove it if
Yeah.
necessary. I don't need to prove it to anybody anymore. I just talk about it. If people choose to believe it, yeah. If they choose not to, if they want to call me crazy, they want to call me a loop, go for it. I've been called everything in the books. I mean, I'm not just having these experiences, but my own personal thing is I'm a paranormal investigator. I
Right.
do it more than for a hobby. I'm also a licensed exorcist and I have a degree in demonology as well. So I've always been on the kooky side of the supernatural and I'm used to that.
Oh
But
yeah.
having the ability to sit down and show, like, even just show you those videos, like telling you them, it's great. I can tell you whatever. I can make up a story right now, and you never know if it was real or not.
Right.
But
Right.
then I get to tell you the experience of what we have and tell you that there is, and you saw the videos for yourself, there's no possible way to recreate these things.
It was. What's funny? I remember when we were talking about this when I saw um, those videos and And it's some people that it's funny because I always thought, well, like before kind of meeting you, before meeting you, it's like, why won't they show these things to the world if they're real? Why won't they show this? Why won't they show that? Why won't they show this? When I first saw that, my first thought was, if I show this, like example, my grandmother, God rest her soul, she's passed away. But let's just say I showed it to my grandmother. Grandma, I told you aliens are real. There's such a responsibility in sharing that. I can see why there's such a it's like you don't know whose world you're going to affect, you know?
The moment I show the world that I have proof that it's happening to our family is the moment that I'm going to be afraid that we will end up in those situations, excuse me again,
Yeah.
like where we have the alphabet boys coming and knocking at our door, or
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
the
absolutely.
scientists going, oh, they're coming and they're checking on your children. They're doing this. What's your children? They're going to turn my family to a petri dish. And that's not going to happen. That's why I was extreme. Sorry if you can hear my dryer finishing in
No,
the
no, no,
background.
you're okay. You're good, dude. Good.
Um, and it's a scare. Like I even sharing it with you, I was hesitant, but like you having we met. I got a feel for your character.
Thanks, man. Oh, you still there? Hello. Did I lose you?
And out like you are the one of the only people outside of blood relatives that I've ever seen that.
Oh, yeah, and I thank you for that, man. I appreciate that opportunity. But and like I said, my purpose is I'm always been curious about it. I've never had experiences like yours, but I've always had this passion and inquisitiveness regarding something outside the norm or the norm we've created, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's trying to rip the veil off what we've been raised with and what we've been created. And of course, once that gets affected, then people and that's honestly a scary thing is which is more scarier, their experiences or people not wanting to embrace something that's not of the norm and the type of
Or
reaction
people
that
hate
we get.
or people reacting completely negative to it and hating it
Oh,
and going into an
absolutely.
attack mode because I've heard of that happening where X, Y, and Z happens, someone speaks of it, and then you get an entire town or person that targets those people from that
Well,
point on.
yeah.
And
Look
that's
at
not going to
Travis
happen to
Walton.
us.
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
is. Look, said that's his name. Look at Travis Walton.
yeah, yeah.
Look what happened to him. I mean, lie detector, the whole, it was not a funny, it was like he was reliving an experience all over again.
And that's the thing is that's why I just let it happen. Nothing has hurt us so far.
Mhm.
I've never been hurt. My family has never been hurt. If anything, they come and they do good for the health and well-being of myself and my children and my family. So there's no reason, not that I'm saying I could ever stop them.
Right.
Um, but my wife feels more secure about it than I do because there's the protector part of me that thinks that these things come into my house whenever the hell they want to, and they
Right.
do God knows what to God knows who. And I I don't even know if I know 1% of the times they could come every single day and night for all I know.
That's
And
true. Yeah.
there's only these few experiences where I've become aware of it. And that one with the dream, another night where it happened where both me and my wife woke up to basically our whole house being lit up like a Christmas tree and then it being gone in an instant. And we were like, what was that? It's like, oh, it must have been a car. And
Right.
then as you're sitting there for a moment, you're realizing that what car in the world is going to be shining brightly into a second story window,
Right.
lighting up an entire room it's always the same hue of light too. It's one that I've never actually seen or been able to recreate
Hmm.
or ever seen recreated. It's so piercingly bright and insane. It's almost like it completely drowns out everything else in the world around it. Like the light, like everything becomes that light.
Yeah.
Or that light is everything at that moment. It's still hard to explain, but we've experienced that. We've experienced our children talking about it. I had another episode where I was a secondary abduction where it was again with my wife. I woke up and I went to bed, somehow managed to get out of that house while the house was locked completely from the inside. And I came back in, bloody, dirty feet, completely mangled, and I had no idea what had happened, where I had been, or what went on. But I woke up and I got into bed, and the reason that like anybody knew what happened is my wife woke up to basically there being dirt everywhere, and she had was like, "What the hell happened?" I'm like, I don't know, I don't know, and we have no explanation for that one.
Wow.
I just assumed that they decided to be a little bit nicer and not drop me, or maybe they did drop me off in Cedar Woolley, and then their higher ups are like, "Oh, well, we already did that to this guy, so you can bring him home."
Yeah, don't haze him anymore.
Like this, he got his one.
Yeah,
I don't.
you got he does hazing.
Yeah.
Now, uh, and those experiences I know you told share with me about they're very extreme. Since and I know now you moved to a different place,
Mhm.
and has it gotten better or not? I mean that's the wrong word. Has the experiences changed to more of a less frequency? Is it about the same? Any recent things happen?
I I wouldn't say it's less because I don't really have any real way to gauge how many times it was happening before. I
That's
only
what
have the experiences that I could possibly recall. Um, so the experience that I talked about we all shared the same experience,
right.
that happened in our new house. That is in the house that we live in now.
Oh,
Um, the other experiences that I showed you the videos of, that was in our
oh, I lost you a little bit again there, John. Can you hear me still?
leave the area. We just upgraded the house.
Hey, John, can you repeat that again? I lost you a little bit. Say that again
Oh,
regarding
I
your.
said
Okay,
from where I lived before was only a little ways away from here. We was just a few
right,
blocks away. We didn't leave the area. We just upgraded the house.
right.
Um, and I would say the experiences are more traumatic here. I would say
Mhm.
that we're becoming more aware of them happening. Um, but maybe less frequent. Now, according to our children, it's not less frequent. Our kids will flat out, what was it? It was just a couple of days ago. Dorian came up to me and he said, "Dad, they're gonna come by tonight." I'm like, "Oh, who's coming by?" Because my brain never immediately goes to that. It's like, who's coming by? Oh, is it
Yeah,
grandpa? Is it
yeah.
for a kid? What are it? Like, oh, the people that come when we're sleeping. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Right. You're like, I got to work tomorrow, man. Come on, dudes. I got to hear. So, and when you're when you're these checkups, right, that are going on. I know you talk about the star child and everything. Has there been any communication from these beings to you, to your wife, even more the children than just like we're just doing a checkup? Any more of a depth purpose or anything like that? Anything you can, if you want to elaborate on?
So maybe I would say more of physical communication with my children,
Okay.
because from the conversations that I've had with them, it sounds like when these entities come and they visit, they actually converse with my children, and my children converse back, and they feel very comfortable with them. They're
Right.
not scared. They don't think of them as monsters. They don't anything. Now, the experiences that we had where I showed you those videos, those traumatized my son.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was awake during both of those experiences, and he won't even really talk about them. I can bring them up and he'll be like, "Yeah, it was bad, it was this," but he does not like talking about it. You can see the emotional change in him when it happens, because it was a scary time for him. He was awake during something that I don't think he was supposed to be awake during.
Well, it was like
um
he was aware of that was
yeah,
happening. That was a trippy thing, man. Well, I saw that. I was like, he knows it's coming.
yeah,
It wasn't jumping for joy. It wasn't showing. It wasn't. I don't see fear. I seen just kind of, but it wasn't like, Dad,
I
stop.
would say
There wasn't even a mention of you, like at all.
the
It was
say
just
the
like,
first
here they come,
video
huh?
the first video with when the whole room is being engulfed in light, the first one that I showed you,
Yeah.
I would say he was completely frozen in fear because he was screaming for me by
Oh, really?
within a few minutes into moments into that video. I think that he was completely frozen with fear, and then he finally was able to muster up the ability to vocalize his fear, and he screamed, and that's when I came in. And and I told you about the experiences. We could see the light through the hall, and then it was just gone as
It
quickly as it was.
it that uh, that that was trippy, man. I had to watch it multiple times, just not to try to debunk it. Because I was like, there's nothing to debunk. I mean, watching the door and everything.
It's somebody I have sent. I have a friend of mine who he's one of the other people. He does video editing for a living, like on a professional. He works for a certain movie company, and I sent him that video,
Yeah,
raw image. I said, "Is there any way that you can like reverse engineer it or bring it back or enhance it or look at anything and show me anything that I'm missing?" And he did his magic, and there is nothing. There's nothing that can be. Not only is there not much that can be done because it's taken on such a. It's not even. I mean, you saw the quality of the video. It's not exactly low res. It's not exactly a
no, but
$1,000 security camera.
yeah, it
Um,
wasn't pixelated or anything. It's dude, it's the real McCoy.
yeah, you can see clearly what's happening,
Yeah.
but he tried in any way to make logic of it. And then he goes, "What am I looking at here?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, he said, "I can't even recreate this."
Yeah,
And that, and that was coming from somebody whose entire life is creating effects for movies,
yeah.
sending him something and like, "Can you do this? Can you make this so I can see what's going on and
Right,
whatnot?"
right,
And they
right,
can,
right. On the security camera.
yeah,
On a security camera with his limitations,
yeah,
recreate the same thing? And
he
he's
can.
like, not with this, not with one camera. Give me some CGI, give me some
And
this, give me some that. Sure.
yeah, and he doesn't, and he explained how they create these masterpieces because he works for a very large movie company. This isn't like no indie movie company. This is, well, I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you his name. He works for Paramount. Um,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. So, and I asked him to explain to me, how do you create these? Like when you have like a movie with an effect, aliens abducting from space and things like that. He goes, it takes days to weeks to months to create the effects and the CGI to make those things, not 30 seconds from a security camera in someone's house. He
Right.
said, like, he's like, that's not, he's like, it's not possible to do. He said, you have it and you can see that it's the raw footage. And he's like, and when you put it into a program, your program can tell you whether it's been edited, enhanced, or anything like that. And it comes back as raw can be. And, hearing that from him was great because it made me like, not that I could even have the half of skill to be, I don't even know how to work PowerPoint on my computer. Um,
Dude, I can barely do this podcast. I'm still working on some things, man.
yeah.
So
So
yeah,
I'm
welcome
not
to
the
the
guy
club.
that's going over. Yeah, I'm not the guy that's over here creating, Steven Spielberg movies on my cell phone.
So
Um,
here's another question. I'm just talking about the second video. I'm not gonna say what it is because I again, that's up to you. But have you showed him the second video?
the second video is the same thing too. He enhanced it, and the only thing that you can see better is the silhouette of the head of the creature that is standing at the foot of my kid's bed. So
Yeah.
this video that we're talking about,
Yeah.
the Lucian saw something, and you can, I don't know, did the video come with audio that I sent you?
It did come with audio, and I gotta tell you right now, I haven't watched it too much since, because of again the firsthand. It's my firsthand video from, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, from somebody
yeah.
who like, this is what this is. But guys, go ahead, continue, go for it. It's your story.
So the only part of it that I can really remember, other than like reliving it in my mind, is hearing my son call for me because he thought he saw something. And I don't know if that was in that video or not, whether you can hear the audio of it, but you clearly see, and I've tried to recreate it, that in the doorway, which, it's standard, like, I don't even remember what a standard doorway is, 7 and 7 1/4. Um, where his bunk bed is, you see this creature, this thing, looking through, peeking in and up and over it. But the crazy part about it is you can't see its body. You only see its eyes.
That's the trippy thing. That thing was tall.
Yeah, Paul
That,
had to have
that,
been over 7 foot.
yeah, that
I
that
mean, if you
that thing was
saw the
tall.
size of the bunk bed and the doorway, it was standing there with even when I stood, and because I did the whole debunking thing, I went in there and I stood, and my eye level, even standing on my toes, cannot reach that area.
Yeah, it was it
I
was
would
it
have
was
had to,
definitely
if it was
above.
me,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would have had to bring in a stool or a chair or something, stood on it. And even then, I don't have eyes that are the size of, I don't even know.
Well,
Well, weirdly enough,
the reflection of those eyes were not normal human.
our eyes don't reflect like that under
No,
IR.
they do not. They reflect completely differently. That's the crazy
Yeah,
thing. And they were
it
big.
was like it had its own light behind it, like it was glass or some form of film, and it was large and it was reflecting the IR.
You know
Which
what?
I don't know about your eyes, but my eyes don't reflect IR.
No, they don't. And you know what? That reminds me of when we were talking about this. I'm sure you heard about the Las Vegas incident last year.
Oh yeah, that
And
was.
I studied that film as best as I can, and that was very interesting. But that
I'll be
family
honest with you, that film was hard for me to watch
really
because
did that bring back
it
experiences.
was another one of those situations where almost wished I could have reached out to the family and been like, listen, I got to show you something. You're not crazy. I
Yeah,
promise you, you're not crazy.
even the cops are freaking out.
Oh, because it comes down to us being an apex predator in our own environment. We are only that up until something is bigger, stronger, and faster than us. And I'll tell you, I don't feel confident that if I ever tried to defend myself against whatever these things are, that I would even damage them. I have firepower. I know how to fight, and I don't feel confident in the slightest that I could do anything to them because I also don't have the ability to just show up in their home completely undetected and do whatever the heck I want to them without them ever even recalling it. That's crazy to me.
It is. You know what's funny? When I was listening to your story, multiple stories, it reminds me of this movie called Dark Skies. Ever seen it?
I did.
And I
Another
mean,
great movie.
yeah, another great movie. And now Hollywood loves to make it fantastical, and what I mean by fantastical is the eeriness behind it and all the symbols that were going on. And maybe that's real, maybe that's not. I have no idea, but I just thought about that, you know, and I kind of wonder, if they're and this is my conspiracy thought. Okay, with Hollywood movies, that there's always some type of kernel of truth behind things, right?
Absolutely.
And I wonder, like with what happened in that movie, it came off more malevolent. Hey, I can't talk.
Malevolent. There it
Yeah,
is.
thank you,
Malevolent. Yep, I got
thank you. Than what your experiences are, right? I mean, as scary as it can be because you're helpless, right? No one likes to feel
it.
helpless.
No.
It's like I don't care.
It's a
I don't
traumatizing feeling. I wouldn't
I
even
don't
say it's a
care.
scary
Yeah,
feeling.
I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care how many lions are in the den that are tamed and trained. I don't like to be in alone with a bunch of lions standing there because I know what they can do to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
But
not just going to walk into a gorilla enclosure thinking, oh, I got this.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's funny. I actually had a dream hanging out with a gorilla for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's a maybe it's a family history thing. I don't know. But
That's
but I
funny.
wonder if the our government and what's going on knows these beings, knows, I don't know what
Yeah,
kind of communication or what's going on, but trying to make it where they're a threat than they're supposed to portray to be.
I, yes, there's no way they don't.
You know what I mean?
It's
You
just,
think our government.
that's just all I can say. I would absolute, I can't say without a doubt because I have no truth and I can't convince anybody of the truth that's in my mind, but I can say me personally, I absolutely believe that there is no possible way that we do not know that they exist. I have seen the technology that our military has. I've seen firsthand. I had a partner that I was with a while ago whose mother was the head engineer for the space station program. I
Right?
have seen the crazy technology that they deal with. There is with no way that they don't know if it exists, that it's there or not there.
When you say crazy technology, do you mean something that we've retrieved, or things that we've just created on our own that are not classified
The
or
the
declassified?
the technological leap that we've had, even in my generation, I don't think is humanly possible. Great minds are great. You got to look at people like Elon Musk, who has turned our space development from basically a complete dinosaur. NASA is basically useless, or they're way more advanced than they ever want us to believe.
I think well, NASA never no answer, was it never ever, I don't know. Never a straight
I
answer.
know
That's
that.
what it is.
Yeah, never a
And
straight answer. Yeah,
and
awesome. I like that.
and it's funny how much money we are, that we pump into NASA for the same thing over and over again. But yeah, I think there's more uh needs that are going on than we understand, right?
And I believe that there are people out there that either are those people that have that technology or have knowledge of that technology, or they're just using people as a front. Like, you can't tell me that this Elon Musk guy came out of a garage somewhere and created the most successful space station program in the world basically overnight. It is insane how quickly SpaceX went from an idea to they're sending rockets daily up into space. They're doing things that says are impossible. So it's either NASA is trying to throw everybody off by working with an individual and using him as a front, and they're just like, we're going to give everybody a little taste of new technology so they're more compliant and they feel happy about themselves. Because isn't it not cool when you get something like the SpaceX program where they have these new rockets that they're sending up that people come from all over the world to watch launch? I've launched things up into the air and I don't have people coming from around the world to watch it. Why? Because it's not important.
Right.
It's not it's not exciting to the world. It's not a technological advance. But when you put it in the media and when you say this has never been done before, you start pumping it out there. You start with the this and then and this is technology that we haven't had. This is new. This is great. This is awesome. This is blah blah blah. It gets people excited for a while, and then you're compliant and calm because there's a handful of people now that I hear talking about the whole SpaceX thing, and most of it's negative now.
Why is that?
Um, because I think that the technology that they gave or that they let us know about was exciting, but not exciting enough, and it was too new, and it's failing. Except for the SpaceX program. I mean, they're still sending rockets up and bringing them down and landing them, which is I still think is pretty impressive because
Yeah, so do
unfortunately
I.
we've had we it's a giant missile that they're using for transportation. That's pretty cool. But then you get the technology that we're dealing with here, like oh, gosh, Tesla. I, it's weird. I was right as I was getting ready to say it, our neighbor just pulled in with his Tesla. He's
Awesome.
so obsessed with it. I don't even think I think that it's new technology that we have had for a long time that we're just now releasing to develop.
That's what's my
You,
next. That's what that was going to be my next question is, and I've heard that too, that there's technology our government has that is, again, and I think
it's
this,
our newest DLC for
yeah,
the
yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah. It's like 10, 20 years ahead, and I think that's a low estimate, in my
Oh,
opinion.
easily. I can't.
Yeah,
It's like yeah.
and
Let's. What was it? 6, 7 years ago, my partner's mother was on a FaceTime call with somebody up on the space station, helping them fix a problem with something that broke, sitting in her living room.
wow,
Yeah,
gee,
and yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, that's insane.
and the things that she has had, and I've seen the old types of communication equipments that she's held on to. Um, the and she worked for she was there during the startup program of the space, the second half of the phase. So probably 34, 35 years she worked for NASA. They had the ability to communicate completely like we do, like I can do right now over this Zoom call with clear picture and everything, that we're talking to each other and communicating at almost real time. They had that 30 years ago. And you got to think of how old the iPhone is.
Oh yeah.
Um, when that came out, when things like FaceTime came out, that means that NASA had the technology that we have now back then. They just chose not to share it with us.
And I wonder why. I try to put my finger on it. The only thing I think of is a sense of control. And
Men are human beings. And when I said men, I meant men as a whole of all genders and everybody, because
yep.
the term is man is stupid. And I can't remember which philosopher said that, but his context of it was actually about giving people technology before they're ready for it. Which if I were to go back into Roman times right now and hand them an Abrams tank, what do you think is going to happen? They are going to abuse the shit out of it. It is going to cause a lot of chaos, and things are going to go horribly wrong for everybody. Same thing, like if you were to go back into the Civil War and hand them an AK-47 with a bunch of ammo, things are going to alter the course of the world. If you come down and you hand us all insane, crazy flying car technology and whatnot, we are going to destroy ourselves very, very quickly with them because people are stupid. They want to modify things. I mean, look at the. Oh, I don't even know if I sent it to you yet. It was funny because we talked about Cybertrucks at one point, and there's this guy out and there's one in Bainbridge Island here, and there's another guy that purchased one too. He took a Cybertruck and he has completely tricked it out now. He has lifted it. He has put all kinds of things out of it. He ripped the battery out of it, put a diesel motor in it,
Oh
and
my,
now he has a diesel Cybertruck. That's what people do with things. When we get crazy technologies, we want to make it cooler, or we want to downgrade it and make it how we want it. And that's exactly what we're going to do if we're handed some form of crazy super energy technology or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, you can just go back to, and this is even from one of your previous podcasts, let's bring up CERN for a quick moment.
yep,
Think of what they're doing with the technology that they have. They are trying to reach significantly further than what I believe we should ever mess with
right,
at all.
right, and I agree 100% with that. I mean, it's it's a term I call playing God.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it's opening veils and doors that I think
It
that
shouldn't be open.
yeah, that should not be open because you don't know who's on the other side or what's on their side. I mean, we don't even
And
know.
on the other side are these entities and these creatures and these beings who are coming and they are visiting people all around the world. They are experimenting with, they are taking care of, they are abducting, they are dissecting, they are treating, and they are destroying. That's who's on the other side of this.
Yeah,
And if they wanted us to be privy on all of their actions, they absolutely would allow it. Instead, here we are in these situations where I'm waking up and my whole family is having the same dream that we can only chalk up to as a coincidence, even though all of us know. And of course, we didn't make it a scary situation for my kids. My wife, as soon as our son was, we were like, "Oh, that's crazy! That's crazy!" We didn't tell him we had the same dream.
right. No, you're
He's too young
yeah,
for that.
yeah. You now let me ask you this. Why won't these entities just say, you know what? Let's just announce it.
Because we'll
We're
fight
here.
them. We'll fight them.
Hmm.
It's going to be our instinct. Someone comes into your house right now. If somebody were to kick in your front door, what are you going to do? You're going to defend yourself. They're going to, and you don't know if their intention is coming in to harm you, or maybe they just came in there to give you a big old hug and $10,000. But the first thing that you're going to do, your first instinct is going to defend, is going to fight.
Hmm.
And that is exactly why. It's because we're stupid as a civilization, and we have I don't think that we're ready for it. And it's the same thing. They're not just going to come down because we're going to fight. And my wife tells me that she feels comfortable with these things. And here I am sitting with, it's hilarious. And you saw my garage. Here I am looking over at the firepower that I have just sitting on my thing right here. And half of this stuff I'm preparing for the end of the world. Half of it is like, oh man, if they come and they decide that they want to try to take my kids, I'm going to fight it. Because that's our mindset. And that's why I don't think that they just want to outright come out, is because you're going to get the people who are going to be accepted or who are going to accept it. The people like my wife who are like, they're not hurting us. So what's the big deal? And you're going to get the people that are like me. There's like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but I'm just, on the off chance that I get the ability to stop them, I'm going to try. And then you're going to get the people who are like, no, screw this. We need to destroy them. We need to make them do what we want. We are, I like to use the dumb term, we're America and we're going to do our America thing and we're going to send missiles and we're going to blow them up because they're different.
Rock,
It's
flag, and eagle, buddy. Yeah,
Okay, I like that.
yeah. I got it from it's a line from the show. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. It's rock
Oh,
flag.
I haven't seen all of that, but I have loved what I've seen so far.
Yeah, it's good. So I know we've gone quite a bit of time. So a couple questions here. Is
Yeah.
one, do you think that the government will ever disclose these entities just to ease that potential interaction?
They have started to. Um,
And
I
are you talking about David Grush and stuff,
Yes,
or
I am. I am.
okay.
That was a huge leap. And I think it was a taste of something. They were like, okay, let's let this small group out here come and tell their experience. These are very credible individuals. The world may or may not believe them. Let's see where this goes. They gave them a little taste. And it seems like everything went well. I mean, I actually didn't see much anywhere in the news or on Facebook or TikTok or any of those other kinds of those information platforms
But
of
why not?
people
But why not
talking
though?
about it.
That's the
That's the
thing. What?
crazy part.
Yeah.
There, nobody was like, no, I didn't see negative. I didn't see positive. I didn't see people coming out going, oh my God, aliens are real. They're telling us the aliens are real. And I also didn't see people coming out going, this guy's crazy. This guy's nothing. I saw nothing. I think that they gave us a taste. They wanted to see it, what it would do, and because we are such a uninterested civilization currently with our technological age, especially with things like TikTok. I mean, good Lord, I don't watch the news. I'll get a quicker newscast from scrolling through TikTok in 15 minutes. I'll get to see what's going on in the world, but that's the problem is that we're so focused on what the new thing is that came and went so quickly that it went exactly as they planned. They released it. They're like, okay, aliens exist, extraterrestrial exists, UFOs are real. Okay, goodbye. We're like, holy crap, that's awesome. Okay, Paris Hilton is doing something tomorrow, or that's the first name that popped in my head. But that's
Yeah,
how
and
quickly our attention span is.
well,
No,
it's yeah,
it's
exactly.
here, it's gone.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
the if it was fully where they were to show now, let me ask you this: if they were to show evidence of crafts, the occupants, do you think that would make a bigger splash?
I
Because
think it I think it would affect us a little bit differently. I think we would see that this was happening and we're going like, okay, all right, we said that they're real, but now you're showing me this. Like, holy crap, what is it? If they were to wheel a spacecraft, something that we don't have, something that's not our technology, something that's not Russia's technology or China's technology or North Korea or any of the others.
oh, lost you a minute again. See if we get them back again.
I think if they were to
Oh,
wheel that
hey,
into
John,
space,
John,
yeah.
repeat that again. Repeat that again.
Okay, where did it cut off?
My actually my question about they would wheel it up. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, I said if they were to wheel out a spacecraft that wasn't our technology, that wasn't China's, Russia's, North Korea's, the US, or anything like that, if they were to wheel that craft into Times Square and they were to televise it saying, this is alien technology, we are showing it with the world, I think a good 80% of our population would be like, prove it. And
Hmm.
the rest of the and then the rest of them would be like, oh my God, it's aliens. And those people that are going to say prove it are never going to believe that it's extraterrestrial because we have been lied to constantly throughout the history of everything when it comes to our technology. And how the heck are you going to prove that it's alien technology and not our technology without having the beings there themselves? I
Yeah.
think the only way for them to truly release it to where we are going to believe it is if they come and do it themselves.
Hmm. No
Because
narrative.
otherwise,
No. No.
because
No.
otherwise, you
No
can't
narrative.
convince me that an apple is an orange just because you say it is.
No, that's true too. That is. Yeah. Damn. That's a good point. So here's the other question I have for you. What do you think makes here in Washington, especially, both paranormal and extraterrestrial, so attractive?
I
So,
think it's old. I think it's dense. I think it's vast. We have coverage of a mass ocean that surrounds us. We have the coverage of mountains that are so vast to where there's still parts of it that haven't been discovered. And that's the crazy part about it. Most people think, oh, we've explored so much of our planet. There's so much that we haven't.
Oh yeah, especially. I agree, 100%, 100%.
And our woods are part of it, and our ocean is part of it. And I think that is, we kind of have, I look at it from a tactical standpoint. Am I wanting to go hide in a desert of Dubai or Arizona or Iraq or anywhere that's flat, open, crazy that you can see for miles? No, I'm not going to. But you
Yeah,
know, where's a really great place to hide where there's mountains that are ridiculously high, there's mountain ranges all around, there's cloud coverage all the time. Let's be honest, Washington sucks and is great with for that.
yep.
There is ocean to where if you have the technology to go from land to sea or hide in it, that's also really good. You have the ability to come and go as you please without or with a very limited chance of being seen.
Yeah, I can definitely attest. It can be quite lonely at times.
As for paranormal, I really have no explanation for that. Me personally, as a paranormal investigator, I will tell you that paranormal is not regional. It's more of situational.
Mm,
Um, like because I can come over where I'm at here and there's not a lot of ghosties going on, but there are a lot of different things that you and me have talked about, and that's a conversation for another time.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Especially when we start doing our own go outs and everything. We'll do that.
Exactly.
That'll be a great podcast episodes and show and so forth because I know you mentioned a lot with the native and everything like that
Yeah.
going on.
Take
Yeah.
you down to Louisiana and I'll change your mind on Ghost.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Actually, it's
Oh,
funny. I have
yeah.
a friend. I had a friend of mine who I did a pre-interview. I was supposed to get him on a couple weeks ago, but I just got tied up with other stuff. And he was
Yeah.
sharing his stories, and like he's like, listen, and he's from my hometown back in California. He's like, there's everything in Louisiana is haunted. He's like,
Oh,
it's
yeah, it is.
yeah.
You can't even buy a drink there without it being haunted.
yeah. He's like lot of pissed off ghosts, lot of death, lot of tragedy. It's like that whole area where is
And
that
it's constant.
yeah, it's hugely constant. I
Yeah.
mean, we had a lot of voodoo and stuff that was going on down there too, right?
Mhm.
So, but all that jazz. But yeah, I mean, it's and I agree with you regarding the state of Washington because you know when we and I did a ride about the military bases and all that stuff
Mhm.
and being hidden out there, I can see where that makes sense too. I mean, especially the high ground areas. You know, I remember I went to I know we went to Fort Warden.
Yeah.
I went to Fort it's what is it up in Portland?
Flagler. Fort Flagler.
Thank you, Flagler. Thank you. And when I was there, because I had the same houses, right, where we went to Fort Warden. I mean, it's
Yeah.
very you can say it's very uniformal, right?
Yeah.
And people are staying there. Those houses, just like up there in Fort Warden, and the high ground is amazing.
Yeah.
I can
Well,
see
you
why
didn't
this.
even get
Yeah.
to experience the high ground at Warden. That I can't wait to show you that. That's gonna
Oh,
it's great. But that's one of those things where we're gonna the next sunny day that we get that you're available. Let's go. I
oh,
love going there.
oh, absolutely. As long as you know, I know. I'll say this with everybody, and by the way, for the people in Port Townsend, just take this as a grain of salt. When him and I were riding through there and through Chickencombe, Um, I had to really make sure I said that. You know, I had to first think about how to pronounce it, and then say it
Chicken
better.
cum, but everybody we call it chicken cum.
Yeah, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. I was like, oh, that's a yeah, it makes sense. But going through there was very spooky, and
Hmm.
going through there definitely for me felt something not familiar.
The
And
energy is old. It's the old ways, and it dates back to. I mean, you can go back to talking to people from the tribal history of the area too. It goes way back further than just now of the oogie boogie that goes through that area.
yeah, it's insane. And I'll tell everybody, you don't need to have a ghost experience to just feel what's out there. I mean, just even riding the motorcycle out there and even experiencing certain people, it was interesting. I know, you and I, like I remember when we were up there, I'm like, dude, why is that guy mad dogging me? Why am I getting mad dogged around here? And you
Everybody.
and you were just like, dude, so it isn't just me. I'm like, no, and you're a nice guy, but I'm a nice, I'm thinking of myself as a nice guy too, like a very approachable person, and and what I do in my job. I'm like, what the hell did I do? You know,
It's not like we're up there looking like the A brother with riding our Harleys and looking
yeah,
crazy and rapping out through the whole area.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
you were on your hog, and I was on a 700X, quiet as can be, and it's just
yeah,
being normal. And motorcyclists are very common out there, but just it's the energy and the vibe and how everybody. It's almost like people that aren't from there could smell, or that are from there could smell people that aren't, and they just have a hatred towards them, and it's like it's
yeah.
almost magnetic. And I felt that every time going up there.
Yeah, and it's just like it's it almost felt like I just didn't belong there. And you know what? And by the way, when I say this to the folk out there, it's not you personally. I think that I think John, you mentioned this that people who have that more of that sensitive unveiling about things, it's almost like, huh, they can see us or they can feel us.
Yeah,
I don't like it. It's mag dog them a little bit.
yeah.
I think there's that sense
Let's
of
let them know that we know that they know we're here, type
yeah,
of things. One of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not going to stop me or stop us from heading out there again for sure. I'll tell
Oh,
you that because I'm too stupid.
no, same here.
Yeah.
That's why I keep going back to haunted places. It's like, oh, that was terrifying. I'll be back
Yeah.
next week.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But no, yeah, it's we got a lot we're going to be doing and all that in the future here, which I'm already starting to think and plan and do all that jazz. So John, before we go, I want to say thank you for sharing your experiences. I think when you and I were talking, you were a very bright guy. You have a great intellect. I think you have a great thought process and just how you interpret things and try to see things at a very level ground, unbiasedly, but also at the same time, not with passion, and I really enjoyed that, and that's then and going to enjoy many conversations to come. Before we go, and by the way, before when we end the podcast, stay on when I end it, okay? We'll talk about
Yes.
before we go. Any final thoughts you want to share with anybody out there? Anything that I missed or that I didn't cover?
Honestly, it's not even more of a final thought. It's more of a like a anybody who might listen to this. I'm not just going to say this in just hopes that you'll just immediately jump and be like, "Oh my God, it has to be real. It has to be real. It has to be real." I want you to, if anything sparked any form of memory or thought or familiarity, sorry, I completely butchered that one.
It's
If
familiarity.
anything that I
Yeah,
said felt familiar to you,
yeah,
I want you to do the research yourself. I don't want you to come and be like, oh my gosh, this was that, or tell him that, oh my gosh, me too, me too, me too. I
right.
want you to experience it for yourself. But if this is something that you have already experienced and you're trying to process it and you don't know how to process it, reach out. There's a lot of us that still, I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I'm saying that I have worked somewhat through it. I probably never will work all the way through it, but don't don't deal with it alone because this is a situation where it's, you know, I personally feel invaded. I feel not exactly attacked, but it's not a comfortable feeling. And just know that it's okay to feel like that. I don't want you to go and tell me if you reach out to me or Chris or anybody, even any of the other communities. We don't need to hear your whole story, and you don't have to try to convince us. We just want you to tell it how you want to tell it and be okay with it because we're all trying to be okay with it. And that's really all I got to say with that. It's just if you experience it or it feels familiar to you, start digging into it because something might be happening that you don't even know that's happening, but your subconscious does.
All right, that's well said, man, and I 100% agree with you. Back up on that. Everybody, you're not alone. You have the right to share these things, their thoughts and feelings, and definitely,
Don't share it with the feds. They'll come and get you.
yeah, that's right. All right. All right. We'll talk afterwards. John, hey man, thank you for being on. This will be one out
Anytime,
of,
bud.
yeah, this will be a one out of many episodes in the future and many journeys, experiences, and hopefully stay alive along the way. Thank you again, John.
Yeah, anytime.
All right.